Well, how do you get Republicans and Democrats on the Hill to come together on a budget deal? We posed that question yesterday to Virginia Republican Congressman Rob Whitman.
People look at the revenue side and understand that the way to address the revenue side is to really look at reform, but reforms that create economic growth. And if we do that, I think we can find that common ground to get things done.
Joining us live this morning, Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner. Senator, good morning. Good to have you with us again.
Good morning, guys.
So how would you do this thing? I mean, it's strange to see someone with your background not more intimately involved in this process. That may be a beef that you have, too. How do you do this?
Well, I do think, our Republican colleagues have to give on revenue. The Democrats have to give on entitlement reform. I think we don't need more taxes to grow government, but we got to pay our bills and we got to pay down part of that $16.5 trillion debt. I think it's really important to remember that back 10 years ago when we did the so-called Bush tax cuts, we took $4.5 trillion out of the revenue stream. We put back $600 billion on New Year's Eve. Every one of the bipartisan plans out there, from Simpson Bowles to My Gang of Six to Rivelin Domenici, all had at least $1.2 trillion of revenue, or up to $2 trillion. So what we did New Year's Eve only got about halfway there. So we've got to get some additional revenue, and at the same time, we have to realize that Medicare and Social Security, two of the greatest programs ever, but the math just doesn't work around them anymore. When I was a kid, 16 people were working for every one person that was retired. Today, it's only 3 people working for every one person retired, because we're just living longer. So that means Democrats have to find ways to shore up those programs and work with our Republican colleagues on those issues.
Well, this budget in the Senate, it does call for additional revenues. It also calls for additional stimulus spending, which could put you and several other senators in a difficult spot, especially since it's expected to squeak through if it gets through. Where do you stand on this?
Well, I think Patty Murray put together a budget that had to get, some of my support and people who are much more liberal than I am. This is a step in a process. The Senate budget is probably not going to become law, just as Paul Ryan's budget is not going to become law. But you've got to get budgets out of both bodies. Then try to, whether it's through a conference committee or whether it's through groups of us that I continue to talk with that are bipartisan, to say, hey, let's get this done. Country's got a lot of problems, but I'm not sure we're going to get to the host of other problems, from energy to immigration to gun safety, until we can get our country's balance sheet right. I obviously am a bit frustrated. I've been working on this 3 years. Shouldn't be this hard. I candidly think nothing would do more for job growth than getting this issue of our budget and debt reduction plan in place behind us.
Are we at least at a point here where party is not coming before country?
I think we are making some real progress. I mean, I was pretty frustrated 6 weeks ago. I feel better now. I think the fact that the president reached out and had, I think, a very productive session with a number of Republican senators. He met with the Republican House yesterday, and today he's going to meet with the greater body of Republican senators. I think that's good. I was at a bipartisan dinner last night where we were talking through how we can get some new ideas into this debate, because we can't simply redebate the same deal terms of the summer of 2011. New ways to get revenue or new ways to do entitlement reform. So hope springs eternal. The alternative is pretty grim.
Yeah, at least there's talking this time. Virginia U.S. Senator Mark Warner, thank you as always.
Thanks, guys.